You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Allison Chhorn is a Cambodian-Australian filmmaker and multidisciplinary artist who presented her work in Cambodia for the first time at the 11th Cambodian International Film Festival in July. Along with screening a few of her films, an accompanying 10-piece photo series was presented at the Java Creative Cafe on the 2nd July, where the photo exhibition will continue to be displayed until the 11th of September. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin will tell you more about her work.
Born to Cambodian migrants who fled from the Khmer Rouge in the mid-1980s, Chhorn grew up in South Australia and studied visual arts at Uni-SA. While in university, she specialized in painting, but quickly came to discover photography, installation, and film. Her broad artistic disciplinary range allows her work to move freely across several mediums. Chhorn's work primarily explores themes of migrant displacement, trauma, and post-memory, deeply informed by her Cambodian-Australian background.
I grew up in Australia, so I have a very strong Australian education and upbringing, but at the same time, my parents are very Cambodian, so there's a strong connection between both.
Since graduating from university, Chhorn has made several short films, including Blind Body and Missing, which she presented at the 11th CIFF along with her first solo mid-length film, The Plastic House. A key tenet of CIFF is to act as a bridge between Cambodia and the world, which includes making connections with and raising the voices of artists in the Cambodian diaspora. As this year's CIFF featured a special retrospective program on Australian cinema, organized in partnership with the Australian Embassy to Cambodia to commemorate the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Cambodia and Australia in 2022, the festival also featured a number of other Australian touchpoints. One of these was the special focus program on Allison Chhorn. Chhorn had actually submitted her films to the festival before the COVID-19 pandemic, but only now had the chance to come and present her work once cinemas reopened in Cambodia and CIFF was able to make its comeback.
And so we waited a few years for it to finally screen this year, so it's very special to have it screened now.
The centerpiece of Chhorn's special focus program was her film The Plastic House, a 45-minute mid-length feature that blends documentary and fiction and which has been internationally screened at several festivals, including Visions du Reel in Switzerland, the Melbourne International Film Festival in Australia, and the New York Film Festival in the United States. The Plastic House follows the life of a young woman as she works alone in her family greenhouse in Australia, reliving shadow memories of her mother and father. Starring Chhorn herself, the film constructs a solitary reality by imagining what life would be like after the passing of her parents.
Yes, for The Plastic House, it was very much inspired by the location, the family farm where my parents and I lived and worked on. It was shot there, I lived there, and it was very easy to film there, so everything was inspired by that place.
The film moves at a slow and meditative pace, with little action or dialogue, and places significant focus on the sound design. During a Q&A with the audience, Chhorn said she chose a slow pace for her film because she feels it builds tension, and is also a way to allow the audience to contemplate and think more imaginatively about what they are watching.
Especially through sounds, and just giving room for the environment to speak for itself. Because there isn't a lot of action or dialogue, I feel like I've tried to tune into the environments where the films were shot, and that's why it's quite slow.
Indeed, to quote the Film Society of Lincoln Center with The Plastic House, Chhorn allows the viewer to feel time passing, seasons changing, and life moving on. Elaborating further on her use of sound, Chhorn said the film's soundscape was very specific to the place it was shot. Since in real life the titular Plastic House is located near an Air Force base in Australia, she said she included a lot of the bass and drone sounds of planes flying overhead. She also described using certain sounds in her films to elicit memories, such as in the use of water sounds in her short film Blind Body, based on a story her grandmother tells about carrying water loads in her youth. Speaking a bit on her inspirations, Chhorn said that she would consider her films to be experimental and cited her education in painting and visual arts as informing her experimental visual practice. She also named a few prolific Asian filmmakers, as well as some Cambodian filmmakers, whose work she has been inspired by.
I'm very much inspired by Apichatpong and other Asian slow cinema filmmakers like Ho Xiaoshen, Tsai Ming Liang, and I'm very excited for other Cambodian filmmakers here like Kavik Nyang and Rithipan.
The Memory House photo series launched at Java Creative Cafe alongside her first screenings in Cambodia act as an accompaniment to the Plastic House, as they are images Chhorn captured while she was still trying to formulate the film's visual landscape. She said she took them a few years before shooting the film and described the photographs as visual sketches that helped her find the composition, shapes, and images she was looking for. This initial photo series that Chhorn began in 2012 carried over into further works across other mediums, such as the aforementioned The Plastic House and a new multi-channel installation titled Skin, Shade, Night, Day, recreating memories of her family's daily routine and rituals through a sound and image installation displayed within a shade house. Skin, Shade, Night, Day was exhibited at the ACE Gallery in Adelaide, Australia from 4th June to 13th August. Allison Chhorn's Memory House photo series will be displayed at the Java Creative Cafe Tutumpung branch until 11th September 2022. Darshana Gauchen, EAC News.